There are lots of dishes I cook now that bring back wonderful childhood memories, and there's nothing better than home cooking, especially a meal made by your mum. Is there, Tom?
Nothing better than the one done by your mum, no.
The thing is, though, when you look back on cooking that your mum made, I look back very fondly, but in fact, I was up there probably about a month ago, and she made me these little ginger biscuit things. They don't look, you know, Michelin star, they don't look like something I'd produce now, but they just tasted so good.
It's all about flavour, though, isn't it? Food, for me, it's what it tastes like is the most important thing. Doesn't matter, it can look as flash as all you like, but if it tastes rubbish, there's no point in eating it.
I couldn't agree more. Now, you've got some ingredients here that I know what this is going to be.
Yeah.
And I love this.
Yeah.
This is an absolute classic, made well. And I think with lots of, you need that sauce, that extra, you know, the proper custard in there as well.
A little bit of extra custard, it's bread and butter pudding. It's one of the dishes that my mum used to make on a Sunday. She used to call it bread pudding, not bread and butter pudding. That's the difference, I think.
Well, listen, mate, my kitchen is your kitchen.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Anything you want to know where it is, just let me know and I'll sort it out.
OK, first thing, sliced white bread. Now, you could use flashy bread.
No, you don't.
Exactly, my sentiments exactly. You don't want that. You want sliced white bread, sandwichy stuff.
Yeah, and proper butter.
And proper butter, and don't be shy.
Because what you don't want is that dryness, do you? You want that moisture, you want that spoon to sort of drop in and go, oh, yes.
Exactly. This bread's a little fresher, but by the end of the week, when it's dried out a little bit, the way that we do it is spread it with butter, make the custard, and we just leave it to soak for about 20 minutes before we actually cook it, so the bread starts to absorb all that lovely custard.
Yeah.
And then when you cook it, it stays really, like, rich and unctuous. So it's like a proper dessert, rather than two separate things, custard and dry bread. It's one thing.
This is what I think people really want.
Yeah, it's proper homely food. It's stuff that people understand. But it's getting the simple things right, like fresh nutmeg for me, freshly grated on, and a lot of
Never had that, though.
Really?
Would have been a powder for me in a jar that's probably sitting in the back of my mum's cupboard for about 6 years.
That's it, exactly. My mum's would have been the same, and it would have vanilla pod, using a proper vanilla pod today, but it would have been vanilla extract when I was a kid.
Oh, definitely.
And a little bit of powdered nutmeg, you're right.
So you got your mum's recipe and given a 21st century kick.
Yeah, and that's it, pretty much, yeah. My mum would be very pleased with it.
Tom cuts his buttered bread into triangles and starts on the all-important custard.
So I've got a pint of double cream. So it's a vanilla pod just been scraped and the seeds go in. So I've got 8 free-range lovely yellow yolks and some caster sugar.
That's really yolky, that one, isn't it?
It's really yolky, yes. This is the thing that will kind of thicken.
Do you go back home and your mum still does any cooking for you?
She does a little bit, yeah. She still likes doing that Sunday lunch thing. So, I mean, she's still back in Gloucester where she lives, and my brother's still there, and every now and then I'm able to get back on a Sunday lunch.
Now you're in this position, you know, this lofted position as a chef that you are now, does she ever come round to your place to eat and say, son, what are you doing? Does she ever criticise, or does she ever, it's all praise?
No, it makes her more nervous, and I have to tell her off, because you grow up with your mum's cooking and absolutely love it, and then knowing that your mum can cook, like, she's not a Michelin-starred chef, but she can cook, like most good mums. She every now and then rings me up and asks me the most ridiculous question, like, when do I put the sprouts on for a Sunday? And I'm like, you've been doing it 50 years, mum. You know, so
do you know what it is?
makes her nervous.
They just want to hear from you, though.
Yeah,
they just want to phone up their boy and say, listen, I had my mum phone up about the same thing, about a pastry. She wants a rich short crust. I said, well, drop an egg in it. Oh, do you think? Yeah, drop an egg in it. Oh, OK. And it's only because their mates were there, probably, and she got off the phone and she goes, Paul said drop an egg in it. It's absolutely...
that is probably true, actually. Maybe my mum had some friends around just checking when to put the sprouts on.
Is there anything that you've taken from your mum which you've taken to the pub to cook, and it's been a massive hit?
Actually, it's not dishes as such, it's an attitude. And that, my mum's love of food and that understanding. We grew up where my mum didn't have very much money. It was a single-parent family, but when my mum cooked, she cooked properly. So whether it was a stew or spaghetti bolognese or whatever else, that attitude to food being true and lovely and flavoursome rather than the cheap option and going down frozen packets or whatever else. Yeah. I mean, that attitude to food is one that has definitely been installed in me, that understanding of trying to make sure that food is loved and cared for and is fun as well.
Yeah, exactly.
When the double cream comes to the boil, Tom pours it onto the eggs and sugar and whisks thoroughly before passing through a sieve.
Right, so I've got here a lined oven-proof tray. And I'm just going to pour a little bit of the custard into the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And then a sprinkle of raisins. And you can see that custard's already beginning to thicken.
Yeah, I know.
Just from the temperature.
I like it you're putting the raisins at the bottom as well.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people put the bread at the bottom and then pour the custard, and then it doesn't always settle, it doesn't always sit. So this way, we're just going to put the bread on top, and you can enjoy getting your fingers messy in this one.
Tom layers the buttered bread into the tray before pouring on another layer of creamy custard.
And you can see the bread start to absorb all the custard and go all nice and soft. And then some more raisins, and then just don't be scared. Push it in.
That's critical to me.
Yeah.
I've seen so many bread and butter puddings where it's just not hit and it's still dry to almost toast.
Yeah, there'd be nothing worse, would there, than taking a spoonful of it and getting, a little bit of dry bread.
Yeah.
That's not bread pudding, is it?
No, definitely not.
Tom then repeats the process one more time before leaving it to sit for 20 minutes so the bread can absorb all that lovely custard. He then bakes it at 130 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes until the custard is set.
And this one has just been cooked.
Whoa.
You see, it's just set up. There's a bit of runny custard underneath.
Nothing wrong with that.
The bread has just absorbed all that custard flavour. I'm going to give it a sprinkling Demerara sugar.
You love food, don't you?
I absolutely love it. I think it's the best thing ever. And do you know what? It's not always the posh ingredients. You know, I like the cheaper stuff. As long as it tastes great, it doesn't matter how much it costs. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's room for expensive ingredients, and don't get me wrong, I love them. But you get a beautiful beef fillet. That animal that comes from also has an amazing oxtail and a fantastic shin. So, you know, even though it's a little bit cheaper, it's still going to be fantastic. And food, I absolutely love it.
Tom adds a brulee twist by giving his pudding the blowtorch treatment.
Did your mum have one of them?
No, she didn't. No, she didn't have a blowtorch. We had a...
Is that a lighter?
Yeah, she had a lighter and a really dodgy grill.
I remember my mum's dodgy grill. Has she still got the same oven, my mum?
Yeah.
I must get her. I'll get you a new oven, mum. It's awful.
Don't worry if you haven't got a blowtorch. Stick your pudding under the grill for the same effect.
A Michelin-starred chef caramelising his sugar on a bread and butter pudding. What more do you want?
It's great, isn't it? And with a big smile on my face, because you're looking at it going, I mean, how lush does that look?
I know,
You just go...
You're leaning against an open door here, Tom.
Yeah. For me, you can't beat that.
You're a legend, mate. Absolute legend. Can't wait to tuck into that.
Tom's mum's bread and butter pudding is an absolute classic, and the addition of fresh nutmeg and caramelised sugar makes this a truly sweet treat.
I'm going to start with the ginger biscuits, Tom. If you just check that method out, I'm passing that on to a Michelin-starred chef, Mum.
Melt marge, sugar and syrup gently in a pan.
OK.
Margarine.
Margarine, OK.
Not butter.
Not butter. Margarine, of course.
OK.
In a pan.
Yeah.
Right, OK. Margarine goes in. Syrup. Yeah, I remember this coming out of the bowl when I was a kid, thinking, what's that?
Golden syrup.
Yeah.
It's amazing stuff.
I know. It's been around for donkey's years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And what else is in there? The sugar.
Sugar.
She's almost making a caramel, isn't she?
Yeah.
OK.
Have you not made these before?
No. Not like this.
You left them to your mum, yeah?
Yeah. If I was coming home, my mum would invariably make a barrel full of the biscuits.
Yeah.
Now, if I park that, that's for the ginger biscuits, OK, that. Now, when it comes to the jam tarts, I sort of figure this one out. Flour. She got self-raising flour, has she?
She's got self-raising flour, 6 ounces of it.
Yeah, that's about right. And she used butter or marge?
Butter or marge, 3 ounces of it. It's up to you, but it looks like you've got a choice here, chef.
I'm using butter. So I'm going to crush this. Did you say what to do?
Rub together ingredients with small amount of water.
What, with water?
That's what it says, chef. We're doing 2 at once. It's confusing.
Yeah, I know.
The bit here where it says terribly difficult, she's right. There's 3 ingredients and we're getting it wrong.
I know, yeah. Well, I've got water here. How much water does she say?
It just says small amount.
And that's it?
That's it.
I can't bring... It needs more water. Maybe. Oh, hang on. I think I made this too wet now. I can bring that back.
There you go, look.
I can bring that back. OK. Now, if I get some flour, I'd rather have a slightly wetter paste. And then work, did she say anything about work it together?
No, she just says roll onto a board, use a pastry cutter to cut out about 20 shapes.
Rolling pin. I've hardly touched this. I've just left it as it is, so it's quite buttery, you know.
Yeah. I suppose that you could use that as a dough for other stuff as well.
Is that what, did she say in it, in there?
No, I'm just adding that. I won't do that. Sorry, Paul's mum. I was just thinking, I wonder what else you could do with that.
Well, jam tart is pretty much about it, really, isn't it? And I'm going to cut out the jam tarts.
Once the pastry is cut out, pop them into a greased cupcake tin. Meanwhile, the butter, sugar and syrup have all melted for my mum's ginger biscuits.
Smells like my mum's biscuits.
With dried ginger.
Yeah.
The powdered stuff, there's nothing like it. It's really intense, isn't it? It's a flavour that I always remember as a kid, from whether it's steamed puddings or biscuits. That dried ginger is lovely.
I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to carry on with these. So, is she given any baking instructions?
OK, put into individual cupcake tray and add teaspoon of jam into each.
A teaspoon?
A teaspoon, not too much. This is with an exclamation mark, mind. Not too much, or it will ooze everywhere. So that's a warning there, Chief.
OK. I'm happy with that. I get a good teaspoon. Does she say what jam?
No.
I've got raspberry here.
OK, raspberry jam.
OK.
Gas mark 5 or 6, 200 degrees centigrade, 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and cook until pastry is pale and brown. Maybe 30 minutes.
30 minutes for these?
Yeah.
They'd be as black as coal. 30 minutes? Mother? Maybe an hair oven.
Yeah.
That one that never quite, the dial comes off all the time. What's this setup? Now, those jam tarts are ready. Now, when it comes to the ginger biscuits, what did she say? I've got the paste ready.
OK, roll into 50p size balls, place on a baking tray, mark the back with a fork, makes about 40 biscuits.
40?
Yeah.
Do you reckon you get 40 from that?
Roll into 50p size balls.
I think these are about right. I remember getting glossy hands when I was a kid making these. I'll do 9 on this.
9, not 40.
40? I mean, there's no way I'll get 40. Maybe it's my mum's eyes.
You're not going to get away with that.
I'm dead, aren't I?
Yeah.
I remember this pastry when I was a kid because I used to nibble on it.
Raw cake mix.
Raw cake mix. Because of the ginger, you can sort of get away with it. So she doesn't flatten them, she just uses a fork.
Mark with back off fork.
So, OK. All right. I remember the fork going on them, because I remember there was always a slight indentation when they came out. It's pretty basic, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but when you were a young'un, that's pretty exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
You say it's basic, I'm looking at it going, I can't wait for a jam tart.
What did you say about the bake on the ginger biscuits?
Approximately 12 minutes, gas mark 4, 180 degrees centigrade or 350 degrees Fahrenheit until golden brown. Or a little bit longer to make dunkers.
OK, I want some dunkers. I can't wait to see what these come out like when they're baked. Tom, I think we're going to have to reveal them at the table later.
Looking forward to it.